right, how we doing, everybody? Just having a look at the markets here. So we've got a market cap of 1.58 trillion, down around about 1%. Bitcoin in the past 24 hours is down 0.7%, down to around, was it 42.3. Ethereum 2.1, also down 1.5%. Interestingly, BNB is up 4.5%, XRP is down 1%, Solana down 1%, Cardano is down 3.6, AVAX down 2.6, Doge down 1.7. So overall, relatively red. Tron down 0.19%, Polkadot 1.8. Chainlink 3.5. So there's been a bit of a pullback in the past 24 hours. Interestingly, over the past 7 days, I would say has also been it's actually a bit of a mixed bag, to be honest. There's a bit of a mixed bag between pullback and profitable. Like, really interesting, helium is up in the past 7 days. Helium is up 80%. I would be very interested to get a gauge on why helium has pumped. Yeah, really interested. Not too sure if anyone has the alpha on that. Maybe no. Maybe don't. I'm also having a look at what's trending. We have seen, right, Bonk has gone pretty hard over the past 30 days. It's up 5x, 5.5x, 550% over the past 7 days, 60%, and even over the past 24 hours. So if you caught a little bit of that and made some money, good for you. Well done. Something interesting here, Ethereum Express has been pumping over the past 30 days. It's up 100%, up 44%. I'm wondering if that, of Ethereum Express, if that is some sort of GPU mining. Let me find out. I'm not too sure. Also wondering about that. So yeah, some really interesting movement in the market with helium going a little bit crazy there. As far as the main tokens within the market, ICP is up 60%. I mean, quite interesting, right? And then, so there's a lot that's performing there, but then at the lower end of the market over the past 7 days, let's go and have a look. Like at the lower end, like there's a lot that's shitting itself. All the way from Aptos, Casper, Polygon's down like that 13%, Arbitrum's down 13%. And I guess not to read too much into it, right? It's just, I'm not saying any of these tokens that are down, it's panic stations. I'm more saying like this is fairly typical of crypto. And if you have a good understanding of how shit works, then you can really make money on the way up and the way down. Through shorting different tokens or whatever. It's just fairly typical that at any particular stage in the market, there's a 7-day swing, which is going on. What do we got going on CoinGecko? Moving over here. I mean, more of the same. This is not a very exciting interface. But that is the update. You're welcome to come up and have a chat about the markets. Today I'm going to talk about, is crypto a scam? No, I'm not going to talk about that. Let me put up what I'm going to put. Firstly, we got to rename the show because I think Fidgetals. Are we? Let me put. I think we were talking about making a crypto crossfire. That's it. We'll change it to that for now. But what we'll talk about for now is this real world asset thesis. And do feel free to come up and have a chat. Otherwise, I'll just keep fucking blabbering along, and everyone can just listen in. But this real world asset thesis, right, is I reckon there's 3 different threads of NFTs. There's sort of your IP brand style NFTs, which is your pudgy penguins, your bored apes, and the likes, and they're really building out that side of it. Then there's your metaverse gaming type NFTs, and those are definitely like their own sort of asset class. And you're seeing, I mean, games are being developed as we speak, right? Of gaming and metaverse and real world, like in that space. But we're also seeing this migration of traditional gaming is coming over into that space. And so that's the second sector. And then I think the third sector is this real world assets, which is where I see that we're parked ourselves. But I think that market is going to mature a lot more. I think what you're seeing with what we're doing is, okay, you've got this tokenization of crypto miners essentially. So it's like we go in, we raise some money, we go out and we buy something. So I think we'll see it coming in from that direction because we're going to do future stuff with, we're going to do a cannabis farm. We're going to do real estate. We're doing crypto miners now, of course, but we're going to do different asset classes where we'll go on and we'll tokenize in that way. But I think the big thing that's really coming, and hopefully people are interested to come up and have a talk about this, if you are, come up and have a chat. But I think what is really coming is tokenization the other way, where people are able to tokenize their property, their businesses, their vehicles, and do that in some sort of official, because that's going to have to be done in a regulatory official capacity through government. So that's the only real way that you can tokenize that stuff, because they'll have to recognize the assets, because whenever you sell a house, the title and everything has to be officially moved within the government records. So therefore that tokenization of real world assets is somehow going to have to be registered on the blockchain, which will have to be recognized by government. So I see that is definitely coming, where you can have tokenization of property, houses, vehicles, and business. What then that gives you the ability to do is become your own bank. So, for example, you could give micro loans, or you can give out loans and offer up your tokenized assets as collateral, liquidity, and do things, while at the same time you can go out and seek loans through, okay, I've got my own houses, I've got my own crypto holdings, I've built whatever I've got, and then that will then allow you to go out and seek more capital to do what you need to do and what you want to do. So I think for us here at Dogface Labs, we're really digging in very deeply into this real world asset area. how we're doing that is, and it's very much in its infancy. Is how we're doing that is we're establishing this dashboard, right? The dashboard is now moving to the next phase where we'll pay out in multiple tokens, and then eventually it'll move to okay. Now that dashboard will hold not only crypto mining assets but also other assets across different asset classes like the cannabis company we're talking about, or the forestry business, or property business, or whiskey company, or or mining farm, or whatever we choose to attach different collections to down the track, which then brings about really different and exciting technology opportunities. So I think where that sends us with on this dashboard pathway is okay, we're going to need a bridge because we're going to need to bridge between our chain and different chains depending on what we're rewarding in and we're involved in. We're going to need a DEX. So all of these different capabilities, we may as well build them out ourselves because there's fees to be earned. The project and we as a community may as well be making our own fees. So there's a lot of different opportunities in here amongst this idea around real world assets. So that's the thesis. I'd like to invite people up to come and have a chat about it. If anybody is interested in, well, of course you're interested in it because you're all fucking here. But yeah, if any of you have ideas on the way that you see it shaping, love to hear you come up and have your say. Ahoy, Sir Cork, how are you?
Yeah, good mate. Running around like a headless chook at the moment as the year winds down, but I couldn't leave you hanging there, so had to come and give you some moral support.
Nice.
Yeah, no, this week is my least favourite week of the year. It just by the end of it, I'm just fucking mentally exhausted. But then I get 3 weeks break, so can recharge the batteries.
Yeah, it's the kind of week you want to outsource, right?
Yeah,
Send out a team of I don't know, team of elves to just do your shopping or something.
yeah, no, exactly. I've learnt the hard way. I do my Christmas shopping in October because I know
No,
once things ramp up, there's no way I get near a bloody shop. November, December. Anyway.
no. Yeah, not the worst idea, but I see we've also got King. King go.
Yeah, how's it
King
going?
go.
How's it going? Can you hear me?
Sure can. We can hear you and your TV, but it's all good.
Oh, all right. No, I got a question, Mark. I was just thinking, and I'm not all deep in the tech like that, but with ordinals and things like that coming out on Bitcoin, and that ramping up the traffic, which in my mind would just benefit, people mining Bitcoin. What is your thoughts on as time goes? more people being able to add to and build on Bitcoin. Because I heard people like trying to make side chains and different things. Um, in my thoughts, and I could be wrong, but I think if people do find a way, and as time goes, start to build on that and cause those type of fees and those type of things. Um, mining Bitcoin, we keep saying we're early, but like as time goes, this may be like one of the top things. What do you think about that?
I think you could definitely be onto something. I was having a look at some market statistics around what the actual market stats were for the different chains. And I think, like, obviously, we're nearly built out the XRP Army collection, which is part of our strategy, but we're very quickly going to move on to the ordinals, and I that was confirmed to me when I saw the latest stats, where like Ethereum is still massive as far as the overall amount of percentage. It's something like it's like over 80%, right, of the actual amount of NFT market, but second was Bitcoin ordinals. It was like around about 11%. And I think there's definitely a lot of traction over there. It's a you know, people who are into Bitcoin are Bitcoin maxis, and I think it's still the biggest crypto. Obviously, it's the biggest blockchain crypto out there. There's the most amount of money in it, so it just makes sense that the NFT market there's going to be pretty big. So yeah, we're definitely going to lay our mark down in that space with a Bitcoin ordinals collection. I think there's something. I think definitely, bro. There's something about this scanning of your Bitcoin wallet, making sure that you're collecting up all of the satoshis that are well valued, and making sure that you're not offloading like old and like low number satoshis. So we'll definitely be doing that and running those scans. So no, I think you're onto something, bro. I think Bitcoin ordinals are probably going to be, Solana's definitely going to come back, but I think Bitcoin ordinals are going to be one of the breakthrough things, I think, for NFTs in this next bull cycle.
Yeah, but what we've got to keep in mind is as time goes on, and less Bitcoin is given out per block, the mining rewards are gonna drop. Admittedly, it's over 100 years, but they're just going to slowly drop away. So we will need, as miners, we'll need transaction fees to fill that gap and make it profitable. So the more use cases we can find for the Bitcoin blockchain, the better. And obviously, ordinals is quite a good one. I know there's some of the Bitcoin maxis think you shouldn't be fucking around with with the Bitcoin blockchain. It's sacred, but I think all the miners are pretty keen on the ordinals to get those transaction fees up.
It's just another way to make money, right? If you can, if they're paying out and you're receiving your satoshis, and you just scan through the wallet and just check it all. I think there's going to become some sort of secondary market there. You just got to be friggin' onto it with it, and know exactly what's going on with your Bitcoin at the time. But yeah, no, I think you're onto something there, Rob. That it will create some sort of secondary market almost. Yeah, what you were saying there as well, Rob, it's with the Bitcoin halving coming, and you're talking about rewards dropping. I think historically we see the price pumping up, going to pump up, right? Plenty of people are saying that we're going to have a pullback before the end of the year, and at least one more pullback before the halving. What are your thoughts on what's happening now in the market, or have you got any thoughts or any strong convictions at the moment between now and the halving?
Well, I'm not sure. Of all year, I've felt there was going to be a big pullback towards the end of the year, but I got burnt last cycle thinking there'd be a pump before the end of the year, and got caught still holding all my bags when things dropped. So I'm a bit reluctant to make any predictions, but it just feels like there might just be another pullback. Before we get to the halving, it may not be this side of the new year. Might be early next year, but I don't know. Just everyone you talk to, just the gut feeling from being here for a while that we're maybe just due one more pullback. The markets are reasonably manipulated, so I think the big players will want a big pullback to shake out all the paper hands before we hit that halving.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm reluctant to make any predictions or make any calls as well, but certainly keeping a close eye on it. I think it was like Alex Becker was saying there's going to be a significant pullback. He tends to have a lot of good information and tends to be right a lot of the time, but obviously I wouldn't base my entire financial prediction on him. But yeah, I'm pretty wary of a significant pullback coming. What do you think, Kingo?
I'm not sure. I think it's going to be a pullback, but I kind of like just go with it. Like I feel like it's like a car revving up right now. Like you're gonna get a little bit of pull forward and then you're gonna come back a little bit just to rev up before the takeoff. And I think that so many people are starting to understand it now. And that's in these spaces with us and in these groups. More and more people coming, but the money's not. You see it a little bit, but it's not jumping yet. But I think every time it pulls back, that's just going to be an opportunity for so many more people to try to get in. And I just think it's every time it does pull back, that's a great time. I mean, if you're in it like this and you got that kind of conviction, it's a great time to. For me, I gotta forget I don't normally talk like that, so not financial advice, but for me, like it's a great time to get as much as I can and load up before it takes off. Period. I mean, this to me, it just seems like this is the way of the future. This is the way things are gonna go. If you feel like you've missed any, or if I feel like I missed any, I think it's a perfect time. A lot risky with a lot of the other ones and things like that, but like just the main staples, the Bitcoins, the Ethereums, and then everything like more to get those things. But yeah, I think it will definitely be a pullback. I don't think this is the takeoff that everybody's expecting yet. We still got a lot of information that we're going to be waiting for from the SEC and all those type of peoples with these ETFs and things. But yeah, to me, that's what it is.
But of course, the other way to look at it is because there are lots of the pundits predicting a pullback, and I think most people have been in a while sort of predicting a pullback. So there's probably a lot of people shorting the market now, And so I would say the big players, the big guys who manipulate, will be watching that and probably start they want to liquidate all those shorts, so they'll probably manipulate a big pump just to do the opposite of what everyone's predicting. So so it's hard to say.
It's interesting just having a look at the data. Like a year ago, it was about 800 billion in the market. So now there's like over 1.6 trillion. So it's doubled the amount invested coming in. So there's obviously, just more conviction in the market. I mean, that's just obvious. There's twice as much conviction in the market. So I think we're just seeing that start to build and roll in. We certainly haven't seen any sort of blow off top yet, but yeah. More overall, we have seen it was been rolling in 800, built up to 1.1, then pulled back to 0.9. Okay, and then it's only really since October, we're past 1.2, that it's really taken off. So you can see there's something going on between now and just gone October, where it's gone from 1.2 up to 1.6 trillion. So very interesting seeing the build going up, and yeah, that's very interesting. It's definitely building relative to what it did on the last cycle. But welcome, Suicidal. How are you?
Hey, how's it going, Mark?
Good, bro.
Right on.
Doing well. Trying to make sense of this bloody market and what's happening.
Yeah,
Solve
man.
world hunger.
Good conversation. I was just gonna pipe up and just say that it's one advantage of being in a fractionalized mining is you don't have to worry about the aspect that most people that aren't into fractionalized mining, where they're concentrating on buying low and selling high. Whereas we're just sitting back. Especially in our project, we're making money 24/7 when our miners are hashing. Um, I just know when it comes to Bitcoin and my conviction of where Bitcoin will be, whether it's a year from now, 5 years from now, whatever Satoshi I get in my wallet, personally, I'm keeping it stashed there. I'm not liquidating any Bitcoin, because of my convictions, my beliefs, is that with the proof of work, the halving coming up, Bitcoin ordinals becoming more popular, more transactions on the chain, it's just going to increase the value of the Bitcoin itself. So, which in turn is going to, make a lot of folks here in Zeno and other folks that, whether they own their own machines or not, or in other projects, going to make everyone pretty happy campers. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a happy camper. I'm going to sit back and watch the fire and the smoke come up and put some marshmallows over the top of that, have some s'mores, and just kind of watch the action. But, I see some good things for us in the future, So there's my 2 cents on that.
Love it, bro. And I think, you're spot on with the crypto mining. It's friggin' that's the beauty of it, having that as the foundation to what we're doing. It's bloody beautiful just watching it and knowing that those Bitcoin and merge miners and Cardano miners are just friggin' producing every day. And then just growing our capacity and adding more miners, we're in a friggin' fantastic position. That's bloody good times.
Yeah, for sure. And the timing of the project, here at Zeno, being able to position ourselves as we did into the cost of the machines, initially, because like with everything else in this market, when the price of the coin goes up, so does the machine that produces it, right? So I think we got settled in pretty good with our first 42 miners, and put us in a good position. And it's be interesting to see where it does go. And with the folks in our community, everyone coming in and picking up their fractionalized mining NFT. If there is a pullback, great. I mean, that's just better for us, because maybe the price of the machine will drop down a little bit more. That allows us to be in an even better position to pick up some more S19s for a cheaper price. Which will just benefit us in the future. So all good stuff.
Yeah, you're exactly right, man. You're winning regardless. The price goes up, you're winning on the crypto reward side, and then the price goes down, and you're winning because the price to purchase miners reflects down. So that's all part of the strategy of working within the team, is figuring out when you're going to deploy capital to purchase the miners and whatnot. But yeah, we're well positioned with the suppliers and who we're working with, so it's pretty good times.
Yeah, no, I believe so. When you're like talking about like real world assets, it's like, one of the most valuable things I see, asset wise, that's not depreciating is real estate, right? And especially if you could get in outskirts of urban areas that are expanding out, there's always good potential to sell your property at a higher cost, higher price, or getting into owning like whether it's apartment complexes, condos, or whatever. You know, uh, I like the fact that real world assets, have the potential of bringing back uh, a good return to the community. And granted, it's outside of our Web3 space, but it's all money, and at the end of the day, it all spends the same, right? And it has a good potential.
Absolutely, man. That's that's how the wealthy. When you have a look at the wealthiest groups in the world, that's how they truly get wealthy. Is they pull their money together and make it work for them, and do big things. So the more that we can pull our money together, like at the moment we're doing it around crypto miners, but yeah, particularly property for sure. It's definitely super lucrative. How do you get the most leverage off your money? And then if it's property, you get a depositor, and then you get the land, then you develop it out, and then you can obviously like sell it, or you can have tenants and earning equity on it. So it's literally just us replicating what the truly wealthy do, and doing it in our own way. It makes a lot of sense to do it that way, in a cooperative way, in a collective way. because that's exactly how rich nations and rich groups do it.
Hey guys, I had a thought on something, Mark. Is it possible, like not possible, but I was thinking like I own a couple pieces of real estate and stuff, right? And it would be cool if you can have the characteristics of the house or the land put on an NFT with everything listed on there, and sell, buy and sell that way. I know in my thinking, you probably, I would have to just go to the jurisdiction that has the property, but sign it over to whoever just brought it from me. I'm quite sure they're going to be trying to figure out, what we did and what happened. I don't even know if that's legal or not, but that I was thinking of something along those lines. Like this way, you got a big real estate portfolio. You got 10 NFTs with everything listed on them and things like that. That's where I kind of like want to see the space go. What do you think about something like that? Or does that even make sense?
Yeah, what you're describing is exactly what I'm talking about. I think what you're talking about there is what allows the opening up of DeFi. Because at the moment DeFi is cool, and it is quite tricky and complicated. Like you see, it's where most of the scams in crypto happen as well. People probably aren't aware of that. It's like it's a staggering amount of the percentage of scams, and it's all in the exchanging of the money, the way that these DeFi platforms are set up. There's fucking rugs and back into the contracts, but if there was a safe way to, like you're saying, tokenize the ownership of your real world assets, like your property, for example, then you could be your own bank and you could be fucking doing microloans for Nigeria, and a whole lot of people could be just loaning a little bit of money off you, like $100, paying you back 110 over the course of 6 months, and that could be life changing for them, and a little bit of interest for you. So I think all of that's definitely going to happen. It's going to be feasible and possible, and I think driving, if you can be part of driving the innovation for that, because it doesn't exist at the moment so much. I think if you can be part of the driving and the cutting edge of the innovation, then there's probably a lot of opportunity to make money in that space as well. I'm just going on and trying to find some like real world asset tokenization platforms.
I think
Not easy to find.
I think there's a company called, might be Masterworks, who do it with fine art. So you could, imagine owning a 1,000th share of the Mona Lisa or something like that. That's a pretty cool concept.
Yeah, it'd be pretty interesting if you tokenized your house and then someone rugged your house. Well, rug the digital copy of your house, digital ownership. Next minute, someone's turning up, booting you out. But yeah, these benefits of fractional ownership are going to be huge. It's essentially like it's like having a whole new asset class. It's not like, oh, you're changing the asset class of the existing one. It's like, okay, we've now got this whole new, completely separate asset class that we now have to deal with, which is called real world assets, where people have switched it over. It's going to be pretty interesting, pretty loose. I think it's going to have very big implications. Well, not really big, but like a bit along the lines of Uber. Well, no, not Uber. Actually, like what was that car company called? Toro, where people can borrow each other's cars. I think if you have real world asset tokenization, it will have implications. Well, this idea, Buddy and I had this idea as well, but Toro for like even just shit that's in your garage. You know, for example, like you've got a fucking skill saw, or you've got like you got a skill saw, or you've even got a lathe. You need to borrow a lathe, or you need to borrow some welding gear. And if you've ever been down to like the hire equipment fucking shop and ever had to deal with those cunt fucks down at the hire shop, they're very unhelpful. They don't have like the mask to fucking stop you burning your retina when you're fucking hiring out a welding machine. So I had a bad experience, but I think if you had in the community, you could definitely do like a Toro version of for just typical real world items, like say a welding machine with a fucking mask and gloves, and some dude will fucking loan that to you, and you pay them $50 rather than going to the hire place and paying them $100. What do you think of that, Vince? We onto something here, and how are you?
Trying to recover from the weekend still. Um, yeah, this has been.
Vince, what I keep telling you, mate, you're too old for fucking benders, bro.
You're telling me, man. Um, I mean, it's part of that owning nothing and being happy, right? Is instead of everybody owning their own set of power tools or things or this, there's ways to go about renting those out so there's less production, less waste. Because if you think about, could that work, right? Could there be a way of making it such that you would just go and just pay for the rental of it? I mean, it's essentially what we're talking about, right? Is instead of owning anything, you would just go rent it as you need it, correct? Um, I know I missed the first part of it, so I apologize, but I don't know if you guys talked about that playing into, even your car, uh, from anything, right? Where you would just basically not own a damn thing and basically be renting it. We do that kind of like with our phones already, right? We really don't own our phones for the most part. We rent them, we make payments on them because they're so fucking expensive. And then after you have them for a couple of years and you finally pay it off, what do? You go buy another one, right? Because you need the latest one. All right. And then you end up making payments on it because it's fucking $1,200 and you don't have $1,200 or don't want to spend the $1,200 in one chunk. Right. And continue to make payments on it until you do own it. But usually by that time, we don't even want it anymore. We're ready for another upgrade. Could that model actually cut down on the amount of waste that we have in the world?
Yeah, potentially. I guess it's a bit like op shop clothes. I mean, there's a certain group of people, right, who like to go shopping at op shops, and get secondhand clothing. But I think, yeah, what we're talking about is that Turo type model, Turo, where people can hire the cars, but then doing that for power tools and then potentially doing that for anything. I guess it sounds like some sort of fucking hippie commune where everybody gets to have sex with each other's wives. Um, which as fun as that sounds, I'm not that keen to be living in such a utopian world. But yeah, as far as power tools goes, I think there could be something on like that, but it's like facilitating the use of power tools amongst friends. But yeah, I get it. I get what you're saying. There's some sort of 15-minute city vibe where they don't want you owning your own shit and you just everybody uses it. And yeah, I don't know. You balance that out versus just like never ending, unrelenting consumerism where we just continue to produce shit till the end of time that we don't need.
Right.
So yeah, it's an interesting one.
Hey, I
Yeah.
got an idea, right? How about we next bull run, right? We know where we're in the spaces. We know where this Art Bezo and all the places are, right? How about you grab some property, some rentals, some stuff in a place like that. You're already in the space with the people that's going to be traveling there. You make the NFTs up like that, so you get your own little chain in your place, and you're already in the space. You have them there. You buy the NFT. You get the room for the weekend or whatever. I'll get the money on the transfer. I'll give you the code. You can go in there and you're there for the whole time, or however you want. We'll start our own little Airbnb chain, or we'll call it something like that. You know, whatever. But how would something like that sound?
Yeah. I mean, that's essentially almost like a timeshare model, right? But you could Web3 it, tokenize it.
Yeah, all on the chain.
I think Mark would call it his Web3 chain gang. I don't know though. Would that sound right? In his utopian world.
I'm in. Count me in. I'll buy one.
uh yeah. What else did you guys talk about in regards to real world assets and this tokenization aspect of it?
Well, real world assets tokenization goes two ways. I think one way is relatively straightforward. That's where you take something and you buy it and you fractionalize the ownership out and you tokenize it, right? I think that's what's happening now, and it's pretty straightforward. Like it's what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But where the real game changer comes is when you can take individual assets and then tokenize them and give them value across the blockchain digitally. So things like individuals, property, houses, vehicles, businesses, assets, anything you own. When you can add a tokenized value to that, and then you can sell it on the blockchain, I think that's where we get a real game changer.
And Turo is kind of like doing that with your vehicle, right? Where you can rent your vehicle out, essentially. Correct?
Yeah, Turo does that. I think people have had. I mean, it's an interesting idea and concept to do Turo with different items and different products. But I think you could see how it could work. Like it's some sort of almost like a barter system because you have shit sitting in your garage for what, literally years, and you might use it one or two times.
Right.
It doesn't have a lot of value.
What is the downside to that, though? I mean, especially if you start looking at doing like a Turo with your vehicle, right? It sounds great in theory, right? If you could be able to rent your vehicle out, collect a payment for it. The problem is that the liability is still all on you, right? The onus is on you to do the repairs, do the upkeep. What if somebody wrecks the vehicle, and then you got to deal with, there's the downsides to that aspect too. So once you fractionalize it, or put it, tokenize it so that it can be rented out, then you still have to have some kind of central body that's going to maintain that, or be responsible for insurance, safety checks on it, things like that. Um, Yeah, I mean, but somebody at the end of the day is going to have to be responsible for that from a standpoint, because regulation is going to say, well, it's got to have a yearly annual inspection. You got to pay for that, and then you got to pay for insurance coverage. Um, so all that stuff would have to be covered. So I know it sounds pie in the sky as you look at it and think, oh, this would be great. I could tokenize this and rent it out or whatever. But at some point, then I guess you have to figure out the model of the certain percentages of your rental is going to have to go towards maintenance and all that kind of stuff. So it's going to have to be factored into that, right?
Yeah, for sure. It'd be a bit like Airbnb where you have a cleaning fee, but I think you'd have to have an insurance-based model because people definitely don't care about your shit as much as they care about their own shit.
Right.
And that's like just a fact. So you see that in the Airbnb model where it's a real pain in the ass to own Airbnb houses, like constant wear and tear, just need for repairs. But then they become, very clever about the way that they set their property up and the way that the types of properties that they sell, the types of things that you put inside the Airbnb so that shit doesn't get damaged. So then you would, I guess people would figure out over time the model evolves. It's just, I guess the question really becomes, is this model a better model than the equipment hire place that's centralized who has higher equipment but keeps it serviced, keeps it running, and make sure that it doesn't fucking blow up in my hands and cut my hands off? Is that better than just going down and borrowing the shit from Gary down out of his garage and borrowing his fucking welder that might explode in my face?
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's the question.
Well, I guess too, you could say, or the argument could be, in a world where we are able to tokenize those additional tools, that might open up another avenue of job creation for services of businesses that would then maintain those, right? So what if you were then to start a new business and say, hey, I will manage this for you, your assets. I will go ahead and be the a one-stop shop where I have maintenance guys that are on 24/7 that can handle a plumbing issue, electrical issue, guys that will go out and mow the yard, right, and do the general maintenance on it. One could argue that it would open up a different, um, uh, what I want to say, job opportunities and business opportunities for folks to be able to fill that niche, because maybe you have people who want to just own the assets but don't want to have to do the maintenance, so they're just say, you know what, fuck it, I'll just take a hit on the fee, and then hire out the maintenance and all that, because those companies then will be responsible for the upkeep on it. They will report, whatever licensing certification needs back to the state if it happens to be something that has to be tracked with any kind of regulation, right? So there may be opportunities from a business standpoint to fill that niche as well.
Yeah, they could do the delivery as well. They could just be like the delivery maintenance person. But
Mm-hmm.
you could also make it so that all of the shit that is rented has to be like under warranty,
Mm-hmm.
existing warranty. So therefore, that would, I guess, cover the issue of um, the repairs, maybe. But yeah, I mean, this is just an example of real world assets. I think the big one is going to be property. Like when you can take, for example, like $1 million or $2 million worth of real world asset value and then apply that to the market. It's a bit like fucking, you see these people now who are going and saying, oh yeah, they'll loan against, or they'll apply loans against their Bored Ape. And people are fucking taking loans out against Bored Apes, etc., etc. It's like, well, it's cool because it kind of lays a platform for the real shit, which is like actual real property, not these. They're just laying the test case because it's all Mickey Mouse fucking ape images, you know.
Yeah. I, yeah, but when you look at a bored ape, what's the actual value of a bored ape? Like, what gives it its value anyway?
I think belonging to the club is like, yeah, belonging to that group. I guess the networking community aspect, but really it's the IP. So they got the COO IP, so you could go use your Bored Ape to start Bored Ape crypto miners. So we could have like the fucking dog face Bored Ape, and then we could make that Bored Ape the head of our crypto mining fucking investor group if we wanted to. There's a community, the Bad Teds.
Hmm.
Are mates with Matt, so they went and bought their community went and bought a Bored Ape, and they all wear the same fucking Bored Ape. So like, we own this Bored Ape. It's quite funny. It's very cute.
Yeah, for me, I'd rather have some type of tangible assets behind that rather than a cute image. Give me something that's going to drive revenue, something that's going to have value, even if the image itself is no longer valuable. What's the real asset behind it? If it's just an image, then you really don't have much.
Yeah, well, I think they're buying it for a buy now, sell later type investment when the market's low. But they've actually got they got some pretty cool ideas, to be honest. Um, for real world asset type stuff.
Mm-mm. I guess I would have to be able to wrap my head around it as a business model and see how the potential revenue would work, you know, longevity of it. Because I don't know. I guess the proof is in the pudding, when where it's like, okay, show me the money, show me how this is going to work, you know, before you go investing in a bored ape, unless they're going to say, oh, yeah, the value is in the community behind it. Well, okay, but what if that community leaves?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I don't think the Bored Apes community will leave, but well, if it does, we're probably all fucked. Um,
uh, what do you think that there would be a massive hit to, like, let's say, the NFT community if they were to? Or do you think I don't I think that if in any business niche or arena, if you have a major player that leaves, that vortex is going to get filled. Somebody's going to come in and fill it, or you're going to see it change. It's going to get altered to some type of new model that somebody is able to step in and say, well, that didn't work very well, but we've got this that we find is working better, and that vortex just gets swallowed up by a new model.
yeah, I think I probably meant from the perspective, I wouldn't say we're all fucked, but to me, it'd be more like it'd be like an FTX type event within NFTs because there's just so much money tied up in Bored Apes. Like what's the floor on Bored Apes? Probably like 30 or 40 ETH. So when you got that amount of liquidity where everybody, even at the lowest level of NFT, has friggin' 40 ETH tied up, that's a ton of like market cap. So I think, yeah, whenever people sell out of their Bored Apes, and there's plenty of money going around.
Yeah. What is the fascination though with Bored Apes? Because I got to say, there's nothing that I have heard about Bored Apes that creates any type of excitement for me, and maybe that's just because maybe at some level I haven't, you know, it doesn't fit into my narrative at the current time paradigm where I'm at. Maybe that's the case. Maybe at a higher level, I would see the value in a Bored Ape because it is more of an access thing, isn't it? Kind of almost like a insiders kind of club, so to speak, where you have access to. You're talking about all this liquidity that's tied up in there. Then you're talking about people who have deep pockets, access to liquidity, who then could potentially be launching pads for for other businesses. I mean, I don't know. I don't know much about that ecosystem and why I would even want to be participating in that particular ecosystem.
Yeah, I think what you just described definitely happened after Bored Apes went crazy, but I think it was like whenever the traditional finance and VC money decided they wanted to come into Web3, they came in through Bored Apes and they filtered a lot of money in through there, and then that they essentially they pumped and dumped those projects. Essentially, they pumped and dumped those projects, and there was a huge amount of money made from those bloody collections, and then people went on and did more stuff. So I think, yeah, it's literally at that level. There's just a heap of funds flowing around from Bored Apes, and I think it will all come back in for sure.
Pump and dump, liquidity move in. Sounds like a meme coin to me. Yeah. Yeah. To me, I just don't know that I would see the value. I would much rather, I think, invest in something that has more tangible aspects to it. Maybe because maybe the attachment to traditional business is too strong, but you know, and maybe part of it is just lack of knowledge about what that ecosystem has to really offer. So I can only speak from my paradigm, from my experience. But there's nothing that I've heard about them that has made me want to go, oh my God, I need to learn everything about them. How am I going to get my hands on one? How can I leverage that to gain wealth? To me, that has not occurred. So I can only speak from that, you know, from my own state of maybe ignorance because I don't know. Um, but I haven't also gone seeking that information.
No, I think you're right. I think it's just that human psychology of humans are like stupid, and we like to follow and form little syndicates and groups and gangs, and I think this was just one of those examples, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm sure I understand the fascination with them, but again, could be just because maybe maybe once I were to reach a certain amount of wealth level, that might have a different, I might have a different opinion on that, simply because of looking at it from a standpoint of, okay, I have amassed a certain degree of wealth. I want to build something. How am I going to gain access to either other investors, access to funding, that I might be able to launch something or build something that has some type of value, and I need access to people who have that liquidity that can invest. I mean, I might look at it differently at that point in time. But I mean, you're already seeing the real world asset of tokenization of, say, real estate becoming. I feel like I've noticed more and more aspects of real estate being one of those common ones right now. Um, Maybe that's because real estate happens to be probably one of the number one ways of wealth creation. Maybe that's why we're seeing it grow rapidly in that particular space, Mark. I don't know your thoughts, because I know you've done well with real estate.
Yeah, I think real estate works because it's got it's got like a very solidified method of registering ownership and transferring ownership through different governments. So it's very easy to do. You wouldn't be able to like launder a property, it's like all very above board. Well, I guess you could. People will try to do things like that, but I think the nature of property makes it quite easy to manage.
You were talking earlier about that, and saying, well, what if your house was tokenized and you got rugged, right? So would there be a necessary mediary that would actually hold on to that particular asset? Say, okay, um, say the house is tokenized, it's got an NFT, it's because it's got a contract behind it. I purchased this particular property from you, but I actually don't even hold the NFT. Instead, I go to, say, a clearinghouse, or it could be even a bank, right? And that NFT then gets, somehow, either I deposit it with that bank that shows that the bank is like a secondary owner of it besides me, and it requires not only myself but the bank to release it in ownership to a new owner, as a protection clause, right, to keep somebody from, because so if it's not in my wallet and I actually don't own it or hold it, then somebody couldn't steal it from me. So maybe I use the bank as a collateral holder, intermediary, then to deposit the NFT. They hold on to it. They ensure that it won't get stolen and removed from me until I come and I say, well, I'm ready to now release this asset and sell this particular asset. I'm now selling it to a new owner, and that bank then, as a secondary, would now go say, okay, that new person's been validated, you validated yourself as the seller and the owner of it, will now transfer it to that ownership of this new person, right? There's got to be some kind of security measure, especially when it comes to the onus of a house. Maybe it's, especially when you start getting into a property that's 250, 500K, $1 million property. You don't want somebody being able to just come in and say, oh, well, I own this NFT, I own this piece of property now, you got to go.
I think it'll all be done through smart contracts, but like if you have the house as the asset, then there's going to be a lot of different things in the smart contracts. Like anyone who owns a property will know that if you don't pay the rates or the land insurance or the taxes or whatever your council or county has stipulated, then essentially you don't own the land because they can just fucking take it off you at any time. No one owns their land. you're you're leasing the land as long as you're alive. So it's going to require council and counties are going to basically want to have the ability to rug your land from you and your titles built into these smart contracts. They'll want that. They'll want the ability to control everything.
Okay. Well, this is not my forte. But what if you, okay, so say the land was, say in a smart contract NFT, maybe I don't even own it. Maybe my trust owns it. And maybe that's one way of handling it. So that say then if I was the owner of it and I did pass, the trust owns it. The executor of my trust then passes to my spouse, so it automatically transfers to my spouse because it's in the trust.
Yeah,
And
I mean, all of that's possible digitally through smart contracts, right? I mean, even if you like a house passed from you to a trust and then you die and it goes like to the benefactors within the trust, somebody still has to pay like the rates and the insurance and all of those things on the property. So theoretically, as long as like all of those things are taken care of, you will retain ownership forever. But all of that shit does have to get taken care of. And people are fucking retards. Like 2 or 3 generations from now, someone in your bloodline might be a retard and forget to pay rates or insurance or body corp or whatever. So you could probably like build that into some smart contract so you could retard proof your assets and your holdings. I
Mm-hmm.
guess theoretically.
Yeah. I think this is where we start getting into the aspect of once you've developed enough wealth, it really becomes about how to have that wealth protected and maintained so that that kind of shit doesn't happen, right? And a trust being one of those ways where um, the trust owns things so that when income comes in, it doesn't actually come in to you as the individual, it comes into the trust, right? And then pays for the things of the trust before you would take payment, right? So even your vehicle then would be maintained by the trust, and all income would go into the trust first to pay all applicable necessary fees and everything before you could even take say a payment of the trust, right? And I think there's ways. I'm not a trust expert, but I do know that there's people that set up these things where the businesses that are in the trust, basically the money just keeps recycling inside the trust. Even the vehicle that you would drive for a personal vehicle is even owned by you. It's owned by either the business inside the trust or owned by the trust, right? So it's all titled to that, and the trust is responsible then um, for maintaining that, right? So,
well, Vince, back on tokenization, right? About because looking at it from that way, it seems like single family is an issue. How about you do something like you get an old Motel 6 or an old Super 8, one of those, right? You're thinking
hmm
you're gonna make this um the new dog face labs, right? So you get contractors, you get them how much it's gonna cost to renovate and all that, right? Then you get the NFTs made, right? And they're gonna be a model of what the rooms are gonna look like. And I can sell the NFTs out almost like we did the miners. Like you get an NFT, you basically own this room. Maybe we'll throw something in there like you get 2 free weeks and 5 weekends. But when we're renting this room out and when we're renting these spaces out, you get a part of the income back as the NFT holder. This way, if you sell it, then whoever gets it now gets that. And if you get thinking, but like if you did get rugged and somebody got your NFT, if you can bring us that kind of stuff, and we can see it on the chain and you can prove it, we can kind of cut the payments to that NFT until we find out what's going on at least, or maybe it's just something that's lost. That's just looking different. But I was just looking at it from that standpoint. Like, how about you get the space, sell out the NFTs, as now they're the owners of them, almost like condos or things
Mm-hmm.
like that. And we're still running the building and doing all the things. You're getting people employed and stuff. And the NFT holders make money off the rooms now. Obviously, you want to look to make it a nice place where you can charge and there's money to be made. But what do you think of something like that?
No, I think that those types of business models are going to probably see. I think okay. So there's two sides of this. I think you could see the fact of, because look, I don't have an extra at this point in time, right? I don't have an extra 100,000 to go drop on another rental property, but I could say, all right, let me put $1,000 into this real estate piece here, or another thousand into this business model, like what you're saying, become a part of it and start generating extra revenue, and then when taking the revenue that's collected from that and then buying an additional one, right? I think that these are also ways for, per se, dog face labs to go and say, well, we want to have more real world assets in our portfolio owned by the DAO. So the DAO then takes the money and says, okay, let's go buy this car wash or a storage facility, right? Where it has income coming in from the storage facility. Not everybody can go and just buy an outright storage facility, but we as the DAO can go and purchase it. The income comes in, there's a maintenance fee that's paid out to it, and the DAO continues to make money. The NFT holders that participate in the project earn additional revenue back from that business as well. Then, as that DAO grows again, you go out and you buy another business, right? That has another ongoing stream of income attached to it. Could be real estate, could be another car wash, could be another storage facility, whatever that is, right? And then continuing to build or create other businesses that continue to drive more revenue back into the actual DAO. I think that's where some of this power comes in of tokenization, democratization of businesses models. Because it allows the everyday person who doesn't have that extensive wealth to be able to get into these revenue streams that over time then can continue to build their wealth, right? And that way they can become the Mark Tolix of the world. I was hoping I'd get a smile from you there, Mark. Yeah. If anybody else has got any kind of input down in the audience, please feel free to come on up, pipe in. I think these are all things that some of us are learning on our journey, and maybe this is where we go and take DAO funds and we buy a Bored Ape so we have access to these people. What do you think about that, Mark?
I think it's worth considering. Cost benefit, I'd definitely look at it, but yeah, I guess you'd have to be able to justify heavily why you'd put 30 ETH into that and not just put it into crypto miners.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm going to put it into a pretty JPEG, why not just become the people behind the pretty JPEG, right? Buy the real world assets, turn around and say, okay, well, I don't need to make all the money. Instead, let me help, you know, let me democratize it. Let me help 50 other people who want ownership of this create an income stream for themselves, better their lives instead of, you know, i- instead of one person. I think there's just a better way of basically spreading that wealth around to more people and actually improving more people's lives than, taking that 30 ETH and buying a fucking JPEG. Let's just do that. Let's just be the change that we need to be in the world.
No, we should do? Be the 30 ETH JPEG. That's what we should be, bro.
Hmm. Okay. So let's reverse engineer that then. If we are going to be a 30 ETH JPEG, what do we have to build in the back that would make us worth not 30 but 50? Because let's not get stuck at 30. Let's look bigger than that. How could we make it a 50 ETH JPEG? And I think that if we do that, we reverse engineer it. We've started with crypto mining, right? We look at other business models that we can invest in using either DAO funds, increasing the mining, which we're already doing. I know that we're doing that on the back end. If we get to that point where we can go and say, hey, look, there's another business opportunity. We're gonna go ahead and create a simple NFT. You want access to that revenue from that business. You purchase the NFT. Boom. Now you got distributed revenue from that. Yep. Then we just keep going.
Yeah.
You just keep churning it.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, man. That's it. I mean, it probably sounds crazy or sounds hard, but it shouldn't be too hard to build 30, 40, 50 ETH worth of value if you just keep going, keep building it out, keep building the dashboard, adding further real world assets like we're talking about here, adding property, adding container businesses, e-com businesses, property, cannabis, whatever we're going to add to this dashboard and to this ecosystem. And then as more and more people come in, literally build your own fucking 30 ETH network by building a business that attracts those type of investors and people. And then they'll all just come and hang out with us.
I agree. And I think like with anything is it's the getting over the initial hump of developing the first time, figuring out what works well, what doesn't work so well, how you go about building it the first time, all the lessons learned along that way, then make it much more simpler the second time around because you figured out, okay, we made this, we found this to be the roadblocks and this is the way we got around it, so we don't need to go down that path again. We've already figured out a better way to solve it. Although there may be better tools that come along the way that allow us to skip past that even faster. But I think that's almost the adage of, um, from an investment standpoint, it's harder to go from making an extra 1,000 to 10,000, right? Initially to get that ball rolling, but once you get to your 10,000, it's easier then to turn that into a 20, and then turning it into 30, into 40, into 50, um, and just keep that ball rolling. An initial momentum that's the most difficult to overcome. Once you can get past that, figure out what the mistakes or what roadblocks you come across, then it becomes easier and easier as you go along. Basically, because we as the builders become more upskilled with the experience that we get along the way, correct?
I would say so, man. And it's very different when you're building a real world business, So we're talking about real world assets. So we're building a crypto mining farm, real world business with a dashboard that's real world capability with, ICO and farms and all of these sorts of things. So we're building real tangible things. These things take time. We're not focused on hype. We're not focused on like the latest, greatest fad meme coin, fucking whatever it is. So that that builds exponentially over time, and that turns into a fucking juggernaut powerhouse because it's a massive snowball effect. steamroller that just builds and will explode, and everyone will go, "Oh my god, they came out of nowhere," and everyone here will know that we built for fucking years on end. You know, it'll be an overnight success.
Yeah, this brings another thought to mind for me too, because I feel like we've seen business models in the US change over the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years, where a lot of companies were built and owned by the employees. And over the past, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, it's become where it's all about the board members, right? It's the businesses have to report back to the board. It's those investors that they're responsible to in making decisions, making money, and it's become less about the employees and the culture of the business. And I think that model is shit, because when the businesses make all decisions based on just, well, we have to answer to the board members, what am I thinking of, the shareholders, right? Instead of looking at it from a business model of, let's build a business where we take care of the people who work inside the business. Those people are the ones that we're really helping, because it creates uh, it creates income for them. They have ownership over the business aspect of it themselves. They take more pride in the work that they do with inside the business. I think I've seen that moving us away from that type of business model where the employees have an ownership stake in the business has really caused a cultural shift inside of these big corporations, where now it's almost like management and the upper level makes decisions and their employees just basically get fucked, and at one point they just don't even give a shit anymore. It's like, okay, well, I'm just here to collect a fucking paycheck. I don't give a shit what kind of customer service I provide or whatever. Fucking fire me or whatever, and it just, I don't think it's created a great business culture, from what I've seen. And that's only my personal experience I'm speaking of. So I don't know if anybody else has kind of seen that trying to shift here in the US anyway, maybe in the culture of those businesses that they work in. Um, but I have seen that within some of that I've been exposed to. Let's do it differently. Let's build it for the everyday person.
Yeah, I think that's one of the criticisms and critiques of fucking capitalism, as in the search for efficiency and streamlining process. There's always that short term thinking of people thinking that bad customer service will be a better financial decision in the long run. And it's always a better financial decision to have good customer service for the means of customer retention, long term forecasting for profit, and then just, essentially having a business that lasts. That's the tricky part, is when you are on top and you're trying to streamline everything. Fatal mistake, see, it happens all the fucking time, you know. It's important not to go down that pathway.
All right. Well, Mark, how long have you guys been going now? It's been a little while, yeah?
Hour and a half, mate. Knock it on the head. Our work is done here.
I like it. I like these discussions because I think it brings about some opportunity for improvement in what's out there. And I think even within our community, we have people that have some pretty good ideas. Um, Now it's just a matter of, can we take some of those ideas, turn them into business models? Can we turn it into something positive for the entire community to benefit from? Um, and really build our own ecosystem, like you said, build ourselves to a 50 ETH ecosystem. Do it ourselves. We create it.
For sure, man. I think that's what we foster. We foster the education and the earnings so that we build that up, and it will become that. And if you do it organically through building it, then it's obviously everyone's going to have that knowledge base, which is powerful.
Agreed.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. It's another episode. I think we're officially changing the name, aren't we? I changed it today just because we're not really selling digitals. We're more of a real world asset, crypto centric, smart money centric type show and brand, but we'll see. I do like to throw the spanner amongst the works with the numbers of the shows, which fucking made me laugh the other day. I think it was like episode 18. It was meant to be episode 18, and I wrote episode 69. And it's like, well, obviously it's a fucking joke. But someone within the team detected that it was episode 69 and said, can we please take care of the naming of the episodes and ensure that we're following the correct order? So it's marking everything up. And I thought, yeah, cool. We'll get back on track. But the team's very sharp with regards to that.
Maybe the next course we send the guys on is Sarcasm 101.
Absolutely. I named one Kiwi Sarcasm 101. I named one episode 666 a while back as well. It was Satan's episode. But all good. We'll catch you later, team. Great show.
What has happened?